Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Stephen Stewart. I'm the chairman of Orecap, and I'm very pleased to be here today with Andrew Chubb, who is the new CEO, relatively new CEO of Awale Resources. Of course, anybody who's following Orecap has noticed that we've made a fairly significant investment into Awale, and that's simply because of Andrew, his vision for the company. Underpinned by the flagship asset, which is called the Odienné, and obviously also its partnership with Newmont, which to me is absolutely critical. So welcome, Andrew. Pleasure to introduce you to all of our shareholders and followers.
Thanks very much, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
So tell us a little bit about your background on this project. I mean, how did this project all come together? How was it found? And talk about that process into its development to what you think it is today.
Yeah, so Awale took on this project, or bought this project from an Australian junior, and as I went to visit the project area and really was just looking at it in more of the classic, West African style of shear zone hosted and orogenic deposits. And when I went there was definitely orpaillage, definitely saw a lot of visible gold and in the gold pans and things like that. And there was the right kind of rocks, supercrustal rocks, or the Birimian kind of rocks that you're looking for. And also it was evident that there was a large amount of alteration and similar alteration throughout the project when I went to different sort of outcrops and orpaillage sites in that initial site visit. So that's what sort of piqued our interest, and we went down the path and took on the project. And then we did some initial prospecting and through that initial prospecting we made the Empire discovery. It was a high-grade soil anomaly, and for a change, we weren't following artisanal miners around. They actually followed us in. So in between us doing that soil survey and spudding the first drill hole, we came back to, we were campaign working at the time, and we came back to like a couple of thousand people mining on our peak soil anomaly. And that was, they mined the clay zone, which is not very thick there, and it actually helped us get a better handle on what the geology was and target the first drill hole. And that was the discovery hole as well. So Empire's the first high grade discovery that we had there. And then that sort of moved on to, testing another target a couple of kilometers to the north called Charger. And Charger was meant to be something very similar to Empire. The surface mapping that we did, we saw similar, diorite, granodiorite, intrusive rocks, late intrusive rocks, and so we did some auger geochemistry and then went in and drilled. But what we drilled was this, copper, we got lots of chalcopyrite, gold with that, and a hematite breccia, and this hematite breccia was sort of a bit of a puzzle, and we went back to the drawing board and had a look. And there is something that we always knew from old data from Randgold. Randgold had the properties had a similar area in the mid-90s, and there was a lot of copper, and lead, zinc, base metal anomalism throughout the area, and we didn't understand that because it didn't fit in with that classic orogenic model. So we dusted all that data off and started to have a look at where we were and what we were doing, and we realized, we sort of then came up with the thesis of the iron oxide copper gold models, and that was starting to give an explanation of that regional base metal geochemistry that we could see in the old Randgold data, and things have just progressed along that path from there. So Charger was a high-grade discovery as well. That first hole there was I think it was 23 meters at just under 3 grams, including 3 meters at 18 grams or something like that. And we've since drilled higher grade intercepts on Charger. So it's another high grade discovery, but it's what's led into the iron oxide copper gold model. And the more work that we've done with that model in mind and testing that model, as you do as a scientist, the more confidence that we've built in these late intrusions, I-type granites they are, and A-type granites, and them being part of the mineralization story, and these intrusions driving the big alteration and mineralized systems. And these things are all still structurally controlled. We have big structures, deep fluid tapping structures, and so we have a combination of things there as well. But that IOCG model has become really important to us, and that is what ended up was one of the things that piqued Newmont's interest as well. Is these things have large scale alteration systems, systems that have enough scale for a company of the size of Newmont, who are looking for 5 million ounce equivalent deposits.
So let's talk a little bit more about that, because certainly when we did our due diligence on Awale, the fact that Newmont came in, had a joint venture, and we're significant shareholders piqued our interest. That I think that gives everybody a certain level of comfort that a company, the world's largest gold miner, obviously does their due diligence, doesn't make decisions lightly, and as you indicate, they don't go after small deposits. I think they need 5 million ounces just to even move the needle. That's probably small for them. So clearly they see something big. Now, you said when Awale first acquired this, you were going after, or you thought the system was orogenic, but then that model quickly changed with additional discoveries. So is it the IOCG? Is it the fact that we are now effectively the first movers, the first group to see this district as through new eyes? Is that what interested Newmont ultimately?
I think that's part of the story, and so we do have a nice tenement holding up there as well. So it's a foray into that as well. I mean, the Newmont joint venture is fantastic, and it's giving us being able to spend their money and to give us insight and understanding about the system has been really nice for us, and so we'll be taking that knowledge that we've gained since the Newmont joint venture into working on the new permits. And we have so as a first mover, there was very few other companies that had pegged up there, and there was open ground, and so we pegged that ground, and so initially there was 2 permits there that we bought from the previous company, and we pegged another 5. And so we now have 2,500 square kilometres of tenure in the district.
Well, I think that's an important point. That's, again, something that really interests me was leverage. Effectively, I think that's what the Newmont joint venture does for Awale and its shareholders. Money's really hard to come by in this environment, but we have Newmont spending $3 million US on the claims that they have the joint venture on. However, there are claims, as you indicated, significant claims that Awale owns 100% completely unencumbered. And my thought is that if we can continue to prove out this IOCG concept, which we're quite confident in, but obviously it needs more work, we would have significant ground within that system that is totally open to us, and that's something that we would deliver, and I think, explore, and something that would be ultimately re-rated if we found this new district in Côte d'Ivoire that is an IOCG. That's very significant, and again, just leveraging Newmont's money to prove that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is just a huge amount of opportunity there, and just for that little bit of information around the IOCG, the various provinces that are IOCG provinces around the globe, they're huge contributors to the metal inventory. They're Carias and Olympic Dam province and Mount Isa province. There's there's big mines that have been operating there and are still operating in all those provinces, and contributed billions of tons in the global metal inventory.
Agree. Well, that's what got us interested when we and again we looked at it through Charles Beaudry's lens, who's now on the board of Awale. But Charles is one of my most trusted advisors and has experience in the Carajás in the 90s, and when he was down there with Noranda Extrata, and he saw the similar. I mean, as soon as he saw the rocks and he talked to you, he got it instantly, and I think that's quite analogous. And so that's why we're interested in it, and I think it's interesting that. Again, you thought this was, or the original premise was orogenic gold, but then we were surprised with copper, and then it's grown since then. So just talking about shifting gears towards what we've been up to lately, we've now since completed about the drill program we did about 4,500 meters. Is that just about complete?
Yeah, we've just completed recently, about 2 weeks ago now, on the 17th, I think it was, of this month, 4,800 meters of drilling, of which we are still all results pending. We've submitted samples as we've been drilling, so I expect to start being able to report some initial results from the follow-up drilling at Charger and perhaps Scepter in early August. And then along with that, we had some other targets that we really wanted to bring into our ranking system. They hadn't been drilled before. All nice big footprints, right? So huge geochemical footprints. Each of them, the Lando target, a 4-kilometer open geochem gold copper geochem footprint. The BBM target, again, a 4-kilometer long open geochem footprint. And the Scepter main target was another one that we drilled, which is part of the entire Scepter anomaly, which is, 20, actually the copper anomaly at Scepter is 20 square kilometers. It's 5 kilometers long and up to 4 kilometers wide. It's a huge anomaly. And so we've just, wanted to bring those targets into our ranking system for all the drilling that we expect to be doing post wet season and into 2024 with a renewed budget from Newmont.
Okay, so just to clarify, we got about 5,000 meters, just 4,800 meters pending with results pending. So we got a lot of news flow coming, which is everybody likes to see. And that's scattered throughout various of those different zones. And that's something I want to talk a little bit more about. So our flagship project is called the Odienné, but it's got the Lando, it's got the BBM, it's got Scepter, it's got Charger. So there's a lot of names going on there. But I guess I think what investors need to understand is we have a big land package, and you've made 4 or 5 discoveries, at least. Well, I don't know. So just give context to that.
They're all, at the moment, there's more than 5 geochemical discoveries, but 3 discoveries at the drill bit. And look, the rocks look fantastic from those 3 new targets that we just drilled. So we're hopeful of another drill bit discovery with at least 1 or maybe more of those 3. And so it's got the feel of more the feel of a camp. It is a lot. There is similar alteration and mineralization throughout each of these targets. So it's all part of the same story and all part of the same system. And sure, they are separate zones, but each of those footprints is actually large enough to have a standalone deposit in each of those. So they have the same alteration system. So there are fingerprints that connect all these targets together as part of the same alteration system. But when you drill down on each one, they've got their own story to tell as well. So Scepter East is a lower grade, larger tonnage sort of target. The grades are more porphyry style. So so copper, molybdenum, silver, and gold. But the grades are more of a porphyry style, sort of at the discovery holes are 0.2 to 0.5 sort of % gold and copper, and a couple of up to well, silver can be quite high, up to 100 grams per ton in some intercepts, but broadly 2 to 5 gram silver intercepts with that as well. Whereas the Charger and Empire, these are high grade gold plus or gold systems, which are up to, we've got multiple 100 gram meter downhole intercepts at both Charger and Empire now.
Well, all sounds very interesting, Andrew. Looking forward to those 4,800 meters worth of results coming out in the not too distant future. And then what's the plan next? So Newmont has a phase 2 milestone coming up where I believe the spend threshold gets into bigger numbers, something like $10 million, if I'm not, and that's US dollars. Is that correct?
Correct. That's right. So yeah, the phase 2 is a $10 million US dollar spend. So at the end of this year, we'll be, roughly at roughly 4 million. We spent just under $1 million in last year, in the last 6 months of last year, and we've had the 3 million US budget this year. So we're expecting to hit that milestone, toward at the end of Q1, start of Q2 in 2024. Sorry. And I'm expecting, the discussions with Newmont around the project are extremely positive. So I'm expecting a significant budget again for the project or the joint venture for 2024, and that'll mean a lot more drilling. So moving some of those targets into resource development sort of drilling, and then such as Scepter and Charger, and then with those other maiden drill holes that we've done, potentially one of those becomes a standout as well to try and progress a little bit more rapidly. And these kinds of systems also warrant a deeper drilling. So the results in the previous program, the results that are coming through, I think we've drilled down to about 360 odd meters in one hole at Scepter, and we didn't drill out of mineralization. So we're still within the same host rock, still seeing pyrite, chalcopyrite, molybdenite in the core, and so there's an appetite, I think, for everyone to come in and drill some deeper holes. And at Charger, it seems that we're getting more sulfides in the Charger breccia with depth as well. So there's an appetite to drill deeper holes at Charger too.
Okay. Well, look, it sounds like it's early days in what could be something exceptionally interesting. We saw something, Newmont sees something, I know you see something. The more I listen and the more I learn, the more I like it. So let's leave it there. But Andrew, I'd like to come back to you every now and then and give an update for Orecap, but also for Awale. It's a very interesting project. Great team. I emphasize you've done a fantastic job in sort of turning this company around. You manage a really good team on the ground in Côte d'Ivoire, which is absolutely critical. And I'm looking forward to some of that news flow coming out shortly. So thank you very much for your time, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Stephen, as well. And you're definitely not the Lone Ranger in waiting for these results. We're really keen to see them ourselves.
Good stuff, Andrew. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen.